Next, we will be discussing viral infections. So, viral infections. The first viral infection is viral warts, and we know viral warts are caused by human papilloma virus. Now, there are so many different types of viral warts and they are caused by so many different types of human papilloma virus. So, these are the types of warts and these are the HPV subtypes causing them. Like deep plantar wart. Deep plantar wart is also known as Myrmecia wart. Superficial plantar wart, also known as mosaic wart. Plain wart is also known as verruca plana. Common wart, also known as verruca vulgaris. Then there is a condition known as epidermodysplasia verruciformis. This is very interesting condition which have clinical presentation resembling to pityriasis versicolor and plain warts. So the lesions, they are hypopigmented like pityriasis versicolor, and few lesions are very similar to plain wart, that is warts with plain top. Then laryngeal warts. Along with laryngeal warts, also remember anogenital warts and butcher warts. So these are different types of viral warts and there are different HPV subtypes which cause them. Okay. Now, remembering these HPV subtypes become very simple if you can somehow remember the sequence of these viral warts. Why? Because deep plantar wart is caused by first HPV subtype, superficial by second, plain by third, common by fourth, epidermodysplasia by fifth, laryngeal and anogenital both by sixth, and butcher wart by seventh. So you can see how simple it is to remember these HPV subtypes if you somehow can remember the sequence. So to remember sequence, we can make a simple mnemonic. So if you see the first alphabet, you can very easily make a mnemonic which can be DSP SLEB. So let us consider that the DSP of your area, Deputy Superintendent of Police of your area, is working so nicely that he is a celebrity now. Okay, so DSP SLEB 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, so deep, superficial, plain, common, epidermodysplasia, laryngeal wart and butcher wart, they are caused by HPV subtypes 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Now this first subtype is the most common subtype causing deep plantar wart, second is the most common subtype causing superficial plantar wart, and seventh is the most common subtype causing butcher wart. Already questions have been asked. Now for remaining four, you need to remember one more subtype, like laryngeal and anogenital are commonly caused by 6th but also caused by 11th. So 6 and 11 are the common subtype causing laryngeal and anogenital wart. 5th and 8th are the one which cause epidermodysplasia. 4th and 2nd are the one which cause common wart. Among them, 2nd is more common than 4th, and 3rd and 10th are the common subtype causing plain wart. Okay, so this is a very simple mnemonic to remember, that DSP SLEB 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. If in examination such questions are asked, you can very easily answer these questions. Next is investigation. If you do histology from any of these warts, you will get coelocytes. What are coelocytes? Coelocytes are keratinocytes with pycnotic nucleus, hyperchromatic nucleus. So such pycnotic or hyperchromatic nucleus is seen. These are known as coelocytes. So coelocytes are seen. Treatment. In the treatment of warts, we use various modalities like cryotherapy, electrotherapy, then chemical cautery, See, what is cryotherapy? Cryo means freeze. Okay, so we use liquid nitrogen which has a temperature of minus 196 degrees centigrade. So with this we freeze the lesions, and once the lesions are freeze, they start exfoliating, they are denatured and they get sloughed off. Okay, same thing can be done with electrical energy. So you are using electrical energy to cauterize the lesion, so this is known as electrocautery. And if you instead you use chemical to cauterize the lesion, then it is chemical cautery. Commonly we use TCA, trichloroacetic acid, simply known as TCA. So TCA is also used for chemical cauterization. So these are various modalities which are used in the treatment of viral warts. Now among these viral warts, anogenital wart is very important, and generally questions are asked on anogenital warts. Anogenital warts, since these are viral infections present over anal and genital areas, they can get sexually transmitted. So that's why they are included in sexually transmitted infection. Okay, so you can write down here anogenital warts in bracket STI, also known as condyloma acuminata. So as I already told you, here the causative agent is again human papilloma virus, which subtypes 6 and 11. So these are the common subtypes. How they clinically present? Clinically they present with rough, that is verrucous, pointed. If they are present over prepuce like glans, that is mucosa, so they might be pink in color. Sometimes they can be pigmented also when they are present over skin. So verrucous, pointed, pink growths. The site which is generally involved in males is coronal sulcus and frenulum, while in females the common site involved is posterior fossa. Why these sites are commonly involved? The reason is that these are sexually transmitted infections, so these are the sites for maximum friction during intercourse. Then again on investigation you will get coilocytes. The treatment of anogenital warts is very important. Generally questions are asked on treatment of anogenital warts. So how you are going to treat them? If nothing is mentioned and they have simply asked that what is the treatment for anogenital wart, mark topical imiquimod. If imiquimod is not there, mark topical podophylotoxin, which is derived from podophyllin. So any one of them will be in the option. Now how these topical agents work? Actually imiquimod acts on toll-like receptor 7 and 8. So this is toll-like receptor 7 and 8 agonist, while podophylotoxin causes metaphase arrest. So they inhibit mitosis. Now one important point to remember about them is that both these are teratogenic, and because they are teratogenic they should never be used during pregnancy. So if a patient suffering from anogenital warts presents in pregnancy, how you are going to treat it? So remember, in pregnancy never use these two. In pregnancy always prefer cryotherapy. If cryotherapy is not available, TCA application. Sometimes these anogenital warts can become very large. So what is the treatment for giant anogenital warts, which is also known as Bushke-Lowenstein tumor? Here surgery is generally preferred. So any surgical option which is there, you can choose that as answer. Okay. Now the second viral infection is molluscum contagiosum. Now molluscum contagiosum is caused by molluscum contagiosum virus. There are 4 types, type 1 to type 4. Among them, it is commonly caused by type 1. So type 1 is most common. But in HIV positive patients, type 2 is most common. This molluscum contagiosum virus is pox virus, and generally this is asked in the exam, that molluscum contagiosum is caused by. So obviously they are not going to give such a simple option that molluscum contagiosum virus, so they give pox virus in the option. How they clinically present? Clinically they present with pink, pearly papules which are dome shaped and have central umbilication. So pink pearly papule which are dome shaped having central umbilication. Now this is a very important point to remember, central umbilication. So central umbilication is there, that is central depression is there in all these lesions. So you can very easily identify molluscum contagiosum lesion by looking at the central umbilication site. In children, the common site is face, while in adults, common site is genitals. Another important point to remember here is that when this viral infection is present over genitals, so genital molluscum contagiosum are also included in STI, so sexually transmitted infection. Okay, so like anogenital warts are STI, similarly genital molluscum contagiosum are also STI. If you do investigation, that is histology, you will get Henderson, Patterson bodies. Now what are Henderson-Patterson bodies? These are intracytoplasmic eosinophilic inclusion bodies. So these are intracytoplasmic eosinophilic inclusion bodies. So intracytoplasmic eosinophilic inclusion bodies are seen. Treatment. Treatment is very similar to viral warts. Here also you can give cryotherapy, electrocautery or TCA application. Then you can also do needle extraction. Needle extraction, that is, all these lesions have a small molluscum body in them. So if with the help of needle, hypodermic needle, you remove that body and then apply a small quantity of TCA, it resolves there itself. Okay, so this is a very effective way for the treatment of these lesions, that is needle extraction. Then third viral infection is herpes. Herpes labialis and herpes genitalis. Causative agent here is generally HSV1, here commonly HSV2. How they clinically present? They present with grouped, painful, fluid filled lesions, vesicles. So both present in the same way, that is, in both you will get grouped painful fluid filled lesions, grouped painful vesicles. But these are around lips, these are present over genitals. There are two important points which you need to remember, which are sometimes asked. They ask you about fever blisters, which are also known as cold sores, and here they sometimes ask you about polycyclic erosions. Let us try to understand them. Let us consider that this is a patient suffering from herpes labialis. Okay, so around lips, these grouped painful vesicles start developing. Now, this lesion heals, and when this lesion heals, the virus lie dormant in nerves or ganglion, and later on it might reactivate. So this reactivation of HSV is known as fever, blisters or cold sores. Okay, so reactivation of herpes simplex virus 1 is known as fever, blisters or cold sores. Okay, so what is happening? Patient develop this HSV1 infection, this lesion heals and virus lie dormant. Now later on, whenever patient develops any immunocompromised condition or prolonged fever like typhoid fever, these blisters again develop. Okay, so this reactivation of HSV is known as fever blisters. Why they are known as fever blisters? Because these blisters generally develop after prolonged fever. They are also known as cold sores. Why? Because the virus was lying cold and now it has produced these sores. Okay. Now let us consider that this is group painful vesicles of herpes genitalis. Now because they are present over genital areas, many a times they rupture. Okay, like if they are present over prepuce, due to friction they might rupture, during sexual activity they might rupture. So if they rupture, what you will get? You will get erosions. Now if you look at the margins of the erosions, it will be something like this, isn't it? Because when these vesicles rupture, they leave behind margins. So this erosion will have margins and multiple cyclic margins are present. So that's why these are known as polycyclic erosions. So polycyclic erosions are seen. Now remember, treatment for both these conditions is same, and that is acyclovir. What is the dose? The dose is 400 mg giving 3 times a day for 7 days. But sometimes the dose mentioned is 200 mg. If 200 mg is mentioned, then it is 5 times a day for 7 days. So 400 mg 3 times a day, 200 mg 5 times a day for 7 days. Now remember few points, that if the patient is immunocompromised, then instead of oral acyclovir, we give IV acyclovir. If the patient is acyclovir resistant, then we use foscarnet. Sometimes the patients who are suffering from eczema, like atopic dermatitis, what happens in atopic dermatitis? This is a very itchy condition and patient keep on scratching these lesions, and due to scratching there is breach in the topmost layer, so the barrier function is defective. So what happens due to this breach? What happens? This skin is more prone for secondary infection. Generally secondary bacterial infection occurs, but sometimes HSV infection can also occur. So these patients who are suffering from eczema secondly develop HSV infection, that is herpes simplex virus infection, and these vesicular lesions start developing over pre-existing eczema. This is known as eczema herpeticum, and this is very obvious from the name itself. Eczema herpeticum. Patient was already having eczema and now developing this HSV infection. This is commonly associated with patients suffering from atopic dermatitis. Then herpetic whitlow, many a times what happens that a physician or a doctor start developing this HSV infection over his fingers. Okay, why? Because of direct contact with the patient's HSV lesion. Okay, so this inoculation of the infection over the hand or the finger of the physician, this is sometimes referred to as herpetic whitlow lesion. Same thing can happen when the infection get transmitted from one person to another due to again close contact, and this is generally seen in rugby players. Okay, so this is known as scrum pox. In these rugby players, what happens that they come in close contact with each other, and due to which this infection get transmitted. So this is known as scrum pox. So these are few terms which you can remember. Next is chicken pox. Now we all know that chickenpox is caused by varicella zoster virus. Clinically, this condition is common in children, and these children present with prodromal symptoms like fever and malaise, and after this prodromal symptoms they present with rashes and vesicles. Now these vesicles are very characteristic. They give dew drop on rose petal appearance. Dewdrop, why? Because they are very small clear fluid-filled lesions, so they appear like dewdrops, and they have a erythematous halo around them, so this looks as if they are present over rose petal. They develop in centripetal distribution. Now these lesions of chickenpox, if they develop early in the age, simply we give symptomatic treatment to this patient, and they generally is a self-limiting condition, it resolves on its own. But if it presents in older age group, generally we require treatment because to reduce the duration of the disease, and the treatment given is acyclovir. Here the dose is 800 mg, 5 times a day for 7 days. Now, sometimes what happens, this child who is suffering from chickenpox, what happens, these lesions heal and the virus lie dormant in the nerves, and later on it can reactivate, and that reactivation causes herpes zoster. So what is herpes zoster? It is due to reactivation of varicella zoster virus. So let us consider that this is the child suffering from chickenpox. This patient was having multiple these vesicular eruptions all over the body. When these lesions healed, the virus lie dormant in the nerves or ganglion, and later on reactivated. This reactivation of varicella zoster virus is known as herpes zoster. Now, because the virus was lying dormant in the nerves, when it reactivates, it leads to lesions which are along the distribution of that nerve. Okay, so these lesions are generally unilateral along a particular nerve segment or dermatome, and they are very similar to herpes lesions, that is, they are grouped vesicles and they are painful. So if you get these grouped painful vesicles which are unilateral along a particular nerve segment, then it is herpes zoster. And the treatment of herpes zoster is again same, that is acyclovir, 800 mg, 5 times a day for 7 days. Now sometimes what happens, that these lesions of herpes zoster heal and a pain persists at that site. Okay, that is known as post-herpetic neuralgia. So once this question was asked, post-herpetic neuralgia. So what is post-herpetic neuralgia? You can write down, it is a neuralgic or burning pain. It is neuralgic or burning pain at the site where herpes zoster heal, persisting for more than 4 weeks. So this was the question which was asked, that post-herpetic neuralgia is the burning pain which persists for 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, 4 week. Answer was 4 week. Now some books including Rook's mentioned that we call it post-herpetic neuralgia if it is persisting for more than 3 months. Okay, so if next time same question comes and the options are instead of weeks is in the months, that 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, then mark 3 months. Okay, so preferably 3 months. If the patient develops post-herpetic neuralgia, then we don't give acyclovir, instead we treat it with pregabalin and gabapentin. So these are the drugs which are used for post-herpetic neuralgia. So here in this image you can see this is a patient suffering from chickenpox where these small dewdrop vesicles are present over red erythematous base. So this is known as dewdrop and rose petal appearance, and this is, you can see, very severe, almost whole body is involved. This is a patient suffering from warts. These are warts lesion, and what you can see, they are rough keratotic verrucous lesions, and since they are present over palm, and so these are palmar or plantar warts if they are present over palm and sole. Okay, Then here again you can see these rough keratotic growths are present. They are multiple in number and present over dorsum of the hand. So these are verruca vulgaris lesions. So these are plantar or palmar warts, and this is verruca vulgaris. Most common type of warts generally develop over dorsum of the hand. Here again you can see rough keratotic warts. They are generally multiple. Then verruca plana, as it is very obvious from the name itself, plana, these are plain topped. Okay, so if you look at the lesions, they are flat surface lesions. So these are plain warts. Then condyloma acuminata, these are anogenital warts. As I told you that these are included in STI, and sometimes they can be very large. So very large rough keratotic growths known as Buschke-Lowenstein tumor. Then I told you this mnemonic, that is DSP SLEB, where deep plantar wart is caused by first subtype, superficial by second, plain by third and 10th, common by 4th and 2nd, second is more common, epidermodysplasia by 5th and 8th, laryngeal and anogenital by 6th and 11th, 6 is more common, and Butcher wart by 7th. Then this is the characteristic lesion of molluscum contagiosum. How to identify? These are pink pearly papules with central umbilication. All these lesions have central depression. You can see this central depression is present in all these lesions. So all lesions will have central depression. Okay, so these are very small papules. Why we call them papules? Because they are raised, they are solid, and they are less than 0.5 centimeter in size. As you can see, less than 0.5 centimeter in size. So small papules are present. Again you can see these are molluscum lesions. If you see the central portion, they all have umbilication. So central umbilication is present, central depression is present. If you do histology, you will get Henderson-Patterson bodies. These are eosinophilic inclusion bodies. These are intracytoplasmic. So within the keratinocytes. So if you see, this is the keratinocyte. Within the keratinocytes, you will get this pink inclusion. Why they are pink in color? Because these are eosinophilic. So they stain pink in color. And as they move upwards, they increase in size. So you can see larger pink inclusions. These are Henderson-Patterson bodies. Then herpes labialis, I told you this is HSV infection where grouped painful vesicles are seen. So you can see these fluid filled lesions and they are grouped together, and these are grouped together around lips. So again you can see grouped together. Okay, sometimes gingiva is also involved. Herpetic gingivoid can occur. Then herpes genitalis, if similar lesions are present over genital areas, here you can see many of them have ruptured to leave behind erosions. Then here again you can see the vesicle has ruptured to form erosion. So this is again herpes genitalis. Then I told you that if you do zinc smear, so if you recall while discussing zinc smear, I told you if you prepare zinc smear, what is seen in herpes infection? In pemphigus, acanthocytes are seen. In herpes, multinucleated giant cells are seen. So multinucleated giant cells on zinc smear. Shingles, another name for herpes zoster, and I told you herpes zoster is due to reactivation of herpes varicella zoster virus, where the lesions are unilateral along a particular nerve segment. So you can see lesions are unilateral only on one side, and these lesions, as you can see, are along this distribution, that is zosteriform. They are along the nerve segment. Okay, so again the lesions are fluid filled, they are grouped and they are painful. So grouped vesicles are present, they are painful and they are along a particular nerve segment and unilateral. So this is the characteristic lesion of herpes zoster. This is again you can see chickenpox. In chickenpox you will get these very small vesicles, that is less than 0.5 centimeter in size, clear fluid filled. Sometimes every part of the body can get involved, whole body can get involved, mucosa can get involved, scalp can get involved, and these small fluid filled lesions are seen giving dew drop on rose petal appearance. Initially patient will present with prodromal symptoms like fever. This is again a patient of chickenpox. Many a times they might crust with time and they might heal. Then eczema herpeticum, I already told you that patient is suffering from atopic dermatitis. Like atopic dermatitis involves generally face in young children. So over face eczema lesions were already present, and then this disseminated viral infection of herpes simplex occurs, and this leads to these vesicle formation. Okay, so this is eczema herpeticum. Then these are few mnemonics which can help you in examination hall. Like sometimes they ask you that what is the appearance of rash after fever. So which day the rash appears after fever in which disease. Okay, so if you want to remember this day of appearance of rash after fever, then you can remember this very famous mnemonic, that is very sick person must take double treatment. So very, that is varicella, sick scarlet fever, person pox, must measles, take typhus, double dengue, and treatment typhoid. So here the rash appears on day 1 after fever, here scarlet fever day 2 after fever, here day 3, 4, 5, 6, and here day 7 after fever. Okay, so sometimes these rashes after fever are characteristically seen in these conditions. Similarly, this is another mnemonic which will help you. Sometimes they ask you which is first disease, second disease, third disease. So you can remember that many students read day long for entrance exam. So many measles, student scarlet fever, read rubella, day long for Duke's disease, entrance exam. So erythema infectiosum and exanthema subitum. So this is disease first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth disease. Okay. These are few images, like you can see measles, you might have read in pediatrics also. So these are the rashes of measles. Then roseola infantum also present with these morbilliform rashes, and this is congenital rubella. Now sometimes they ask you that which diseases show centripetal rashes, which show centrifugal rashes. So this is another mnemonic which will help you. RSVP means response please. Okay, so you might have read in cards, wedding cards, many a times it is written RSVP, which means respond please. Okay, so RSVP means respond, and P is for centripetal rash. So centripetal rash are seen in rubella, scarlet fever, varicella, parvovirus V19 infection, measles, and roseola. So this is centripetal. And similarly centrifugal rash, severe CRF, severe secondary syphilis, C Coxsackie A virus, which causes hand, foot, mouth disease, then Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and F is for fugal. So these are few mnemonic which will help you in examination.